and I was looking at NFTs, and until today I still sort of think liking NFTs is like liking Elon Musk. Right, you either stand or you fucking hate it. I don't know, right? Like,
okay, I thought you were equating NFTs in itself to Elon Musk. And
no,
I was like,
but I'm equating the fandom of NFTs.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
It can
like,
be really extreme.
Yeah. So they're either willing to die for the NFTs,
right,
or the projects, the stuff that they own, or you just really don't care. You just don't own any, right?
Yeah.
Hello.
The Blockcast.
Welcome everyone to the Blockcast. This is our first and inaugural episode, and today we have with us Clara Pei. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Okay. Clara is one of 4 founders of NFT Asia. Did I also get that right? One of 4?
Well, I guess technically there are 5.
Okay, technically there are 5. Why technically?
Okay, so wait, is this part of it, or do we want to? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, essentially, how we designate ourselves is pretty free-forming, but I guess if you want to say like founding members or like the people that were there to build it to like towards the current structure. I mean, there were a lot of people, but 5 of us kind of carried more responsibility than others. But yeah.
Okay, technically 5. NFT Asia is Southeast Asia's go-to Discord channel for anything and everything NFT related in Asia. Is that true? I'm sorry, I'm checking with you to make sure my facts are right.
Sure.
That's what I've written down. So.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's also, you guys say you're a community-driven channel that seeks to uplift Asian and Asia-based NFT creators.
Yes.
Cool. All right, just to start off, and a little bit of an icebreaker for us, I plan on asking everyone this, but you're the first person today to get asked this.
Woohoo.
As an advocate for NFTs, you're an advocate for NFTs, right?
Somewhat.
Okay. You like NFTs?
I'm interested
Yeah.
in that.
Okay. As an advocate for NFTs, what's in your wallet?
Actually, very little. It's probably going to be very disappointing, but because I don't really interact with the space in the role of a collector, there have been some instances where I see an artwork and I'm like, wow, I absolutely love it, resonate with it, want to support, my friends, but most of the time I don't really kind of resonate with that role because I'm more of a curator, and if I really like something, I'd rather, look for an exhibition or look for a way to work with the artist. So what's in my wallet? Well, I have 2 bios. Bios is a project by Ernest Wu and Jake Tan. Ernest is also one of the founders or co-founders of NFT Asia, so it's kind of biased, but I've been following Ernest's practice for some time, and I really like the things he does. Ernest and Jake basically have spent years doing research into plant life and thinking about digitizing plant life. So when they started putting out bios, I thought, okay, this is like actually a project that, is grounded in research, there's criticality, there's a lot of like philosophy behind what they've chosen to do. And also it's a plant that grows over time. So it's like a dynamic NFT, right?
So I really like that about the BIOS project as well, right? If you guys out there want to know what BIOS is, check out our TikTok. We have a video with Ernest and Jake on our TikTok.
I don't know, so fun.
So,
I'm not on TikTok, but
it's okay. Not everyone is. I'm trying to figure my way out around it too. Is that all? Like, are there any NFTs, other NFTs you have in your wallet that you want to talk to us about? That you want to tell me about? That you think are great projects?
Well, I don't really have any projects or projects that I bought into. There's another one that I bought into because I also believe in the artist. It's by Searlight and Kei Juni. So the project is called Capsule House, and it's really just because I like the art.
Okay.
And then everything else I have is like one-on-ones on Tezos that I bought on Hikiknunk like early last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really what drives you to buy NFTs is basically the art bit of it?
Yeah, I guess I'm not really a buyer, and a curator, don't have like large base capital to be buying things up, but in instances in which I have wanted to buy an NFT or I've been interested to collect something, it's usually because of the art.
Okay. Having said that, you are a curator.
Yes.
That means you would have had some sort of what's the word for it? Shit. Training. I mean, you studied art, right? I'm guessing you studied art. To be a curator, you kind of have to study art, right?
Yes and no, but
Okay.
if you work in the trad art world, definitely. I think I came from an econs background, so I studied economics.
Okay, interesting. Tell
And
me a
then-
little bit about yourself, right? Like,
Sure.
you talk about traditional art, but now you're telling me that I thought you studied something that had to do with traditional art.
I did.
Okay.
After I studied economics.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went from studying economics
Yes.
to studying traditional. What did you study?
So I studied art history.
Okay.
Yeah. So I studied economics at Gillen US, which is a liberal arts college. So, I was able to take classes in like arts and humanities, art history. So that was when I was kind of formally introduced to art history as a discipline. I've always kind of dealt with art or like took art classes throughout my education, but I didn't think that, I could see myself in that industry because I don't want to be an artist, don't have the skills for it. And then I started taking art history, and through UNUS had these opportunities to intern at an auction house or study abroad at this university in Italy that had a particular major in art, kind of economics, arts management. Then came back and I wrote my thesis on like the auction market and like using an economic lens to try and understand art auctions. After that,
Okay.
it just kind of pushed me, more and more towards the arts and
Yep.
thinking, okay, I want to work like in the arts. Yeah.
Okay, so that has led you to where you are today as an
Yeah.
art curator, right? So having come from that traditional art sort of background, how did you then transition into digital art? Like, what was it about NFTs that drew you?
I think even in art history, when I was doing my master's, my specialization was in Chinese contemporary art, which already has a lot of artists working with post-internet, with new media. So that translation really wasn't so much of a leap, because I was already looking at things like cyberfeminism, new media stuff.
Okay.
But with NFTs, I think maybe also because of my economics background and that comfort surrounding like talking about art in the market sense, that it was like, okay, cool, this is like a kind of a natural extension of different things, even though NFTs definitely come from like a different entry point. It was more about crypto, blockchain technology, but it's suited for say like visual assets. So that, I think, translation wasn't actually that much of a leap.
Interesting, because one of the questions I wanted to ask you as well is when you first, I guess, started researching NFTs. I mean, everyone has to do sort of due diligence. Did you come to it from the point of view of it being fundamentally a digital asset, or did you come to it from the point of view of what it could be as art?
So I think the first time I heard about NFTs, this was in 2020, I thought about it more as an asset, or I heard about projects like CryptoKitties.
Okay.
So I was a little less interested in it because I didn't understand like what else was happening in the space, and I just thought it was mostly like collectibles. But it was, kind of with the news towards like early 2021, right? There was like all this news about art and NFTs, and then obviously leading up to like the Beeple sale, there was a lot more kind of art world interest. There were already lots of artists who have been experimenting with blockchain, even with NFTs at that point, but I didn't know about them. And it was only when I started researching and learning that, oh, there's actually all these like artist collectives or like artist groups that
Yeah.
are already doing stuff with blockchain, that I was like, okay, if artists are experimenting with this technology, and if say like it's going to be a financial tool of sorts, which is like opening up a new art market,
Yeah.
then I feel like as someone who's interested in contemporary art, as someone who's a curator, there's almost like there should be like a vested interest to look into what's happening here,
Yeah.
because maybe it could really come to interact with the rest of the art world, the art market, right?
So would you say that was sort of like a coincidence for you, the fact that it slowly moved towards the arts for you? I mean, you said you came to it not from an art sort of perspective, right? From a digital asset perspective, right?
Initially,
Yeah.
but when I really started to look at it, it was actually because I was commissioned to write a piece about it.
Oh, okay.
About NFTs and art in Southeast Asia. The piece was for a platform called Art and Market.
Okay. How did you feel about having to write a piece about NFTs at the very beginning?
Oh, see, but the thing is, like, I was never really, like, anti-NFTs. I was very skeptical about, like, crypto, about blockchain, because of certain kind of political ideologies associated with it. And I was just like, okay, like, I don't know too much about it, so I'm not going to be super, pro anything if I don't know
Okay.
about it.
Yeah.
But when I was commissioned to write about it, I was like, cool. Sounds like something I should, absolutely look into. And that was also the time when I started to hear about artists around me here in Singapore and Southeast Asia curious about it. And so it was a fun time because I was literally like trying to look for artists to write about it, and I didn't know who was working with NFTs at that point. So like John, who's working with me now on NFT Asia,
Yeah.
we started talking because he's also an artist. It's a small circle. We follow each other on Instagram. I just remembered that a month ago, John posted something remotely related to Bitcoin. I don't
Okay.
remember what, but I was like, maybe this person knows something about NFTs.
Yeah.
Then,
and this was all still part of the research for your article.
Yeah, this
Okay.
was like February last year.
Yeah.
And so I texted him on Instagram like, do you happen to like do any like NFT things or know about NFTs? And it was the same story with Ernest. I think I put up a story or put up a post somewhere asking, hey, does anyone know, have any friends working with NFTs? Another, a mutual friend, Sean Chum, who's also a photographer, connected me with Ernest and said, oh, Ernest is doing this project. And so I just started reaching out to people randomly like, oh, I just heard that maybe you know some like crypto things or some NFT things, and found that we were all learning together. So even though, some of us have had like longer term relationships with crypto or blockchain, been looking at it longer, NFTs were relatively new to all of us at that point. So we were all in a phase of, okay, we now understand the base technology, but what the further implications for like artists or for the art kind of ecosystem.
When you say base technology, you're talking about the blockchain and crypto
Yeah.
and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, you did say earlier that you didn't really get into that because of all the, I guess, political ideologies and stuff. That's what you said, right?
I guess it can have this perception, right, of it's like super like capitalism and like money.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's a very finance bro thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get cancelled for saying that.
No,
but,
no.
Yeah, but it's true,
the
right?
perception
yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
is very like finance bro. And even today, right, people are like, oh, it's MLM, it's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to defend all of crypto. Like, there's definitely some of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not financial advice. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So but having said that, having come from that point of view of blockchain and crypto being sort of meh to you, was it tough like learning about that stuff, because that's what you had to learn as the basics to then learn about NFTs, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess actually in 2018, I was doing research on art and tech. And so I was looking at art and blockchain, and there were already businesses and kind of experiments around like art and blockchain. It wasn't really in the language of NFTs at that point. People were thinking about like earlier standards of smart contracts and how they could utilize it for the art market. Christie's did their first art tech summit in, I think, 2018, if I'm not wrong. So that year was really ripe for like a little bit of adoption. So I wasn't completely new to the idea of blockchain. It was always mind boggling, but then when you kind of accept that, it's immaterial, it's really something you have to kind of understand in kind of, for me at least, it's a little like abstract terms, because I can't really visualize like a vast network of computers working together to verify something, right? I think a lot of people kind of struggle with that, but then when you compare it to other technologies you use, honestly, a lot of them are also quite abstract in their infrastructure in my life, because I don't necessarily see that base layer. So after kind of getting past that hurdle, it wasn't so foreign because
Okay.
of, yeah.
So let's talk about now. I mean, you've sort of seen the NFT space here in Singapore. I feel like the scene has a lot of misconceptions. Not a scene, but the masses have a lot of misconceptions of NFTs, right?
Sure.
Which is also, I think, why a lot of people want to have these conversations today. But do you think that it's just, a misconception? Is it because of the scene? Is it because the NFT scene is like that then creates these misconceptions that is put out for the masses?
Like what?
Okay, now you're interviewing me. Like what? So okay, I think, for example, PFPs are basically the one thing that everyone's talking about. Like, that's what everyone sees
Sure.
in mass media,
Sure.
right? If you guys want to watch a video, I do an NFT explainer on our YouTube channel that comes out. Oh, by the time this comes out, it should already be out. So check out our YouTube channel. But anyway, coming back to that, yes. So I feel like what everyone sees are PFPs. The PFPs. Oh man. But that's what the masses see, right? Because they're on
Sure.
Instagram, they're not on Discord, they're not on Twitter. Even if they are on Twitter, they're on Facebook and Instagram
Right.
and that kind of stuff, right? But because of that, I feel like there's a lot of misconception surrounding stuff like BAYC,
Sure.
CryptoPunks. Everyone's just talking about how much this PFP sold for, how much that one sold for, right? Is that because the scene is a certain way that they don't really talk about other NFTs and what else they could be used for? I mean, not a lot of people talk about art in NFT, right? Like one of ones.
In early 2021, a lot of people came into the NFT space because of art, like because of the Beeple sale, because conversations surrounding how, visual artists were working with this technology started entering like mainstream consciousness. And then people are like, oh, like this makes sense for digital art. And that's how a lot of digital artists actually came into this space.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times, like, you work in media, you understand that sometimes you need numbers, right? You need a certain kind of narrative.
Yep.
And there's been this narrative of like this magical like NFT thing where like, oh, if an artist works with it, they're just going to become millionaires. 17-year-old out of their bedroom, like
Yeah.
sells an NFT, sudden, wow.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay. That's probably like one person's story. It's really
Yeah.
not representative of everyone else's. And yeah, so I guess there's already so much focus like on the money in itself. But the fact that NFTs are also fundamentally, they are built on blockchain, crypto, like those ties cannot be severed, right? And so I think it's difficult to talk about NFTs away from the market. But from like the market side, a lot of investors are interested in PFPs because they're more liquid. They might have, different kind of profit opportunities that looks very different in one-on-ones. Like in one-on-one artworks sold by individual artists, it's just more illiquid if it's like a tradable asset, right? Because it's unique, it's heterogeneous, there's less of a secondary market. It's not as active as PFPs, because PFPs is like 10,000 pieces, thousands of collectors, you're
Yeah.
offhanding it, trading it, what's the price for, what's
Yeah.
the whatever. Whereas with one-on-ones, like that looks very different, and it should look
Yeah.
very different. So I think if you're looking at it from like the market side of things, from it as an investor, it's natural that PFPs get a lot more attention. There's just more market movement.
What do you think
Yeah.
the difference of the drive is to own a one-of-one versus owning a PFP?
Well, it's like someone for me, it's like I'm in it mostly because of like the art, or, I come from this like curator perspective. So I look at one-on-ones a lot more than I look at PFPs. But I think for most people, for one-on-ones, for collectors, and this is what I gather, is there is this genuine interest in art and like wanting to learn about the artist, wanting to connect with an artwork. And then by buying or collecting a work, you both support the artist, but you also have this artwork now in your collection, which can mean different things. That's similar to like collecting art in like the traditional art market, right? And then for PFPs, there's of course like your digital identity. You know, what does it mean when you have a Bored Ape as your profile picture on Twitter and Discord? It means you're part of a certain kind of club, right?
Okay.
Like really successful.
Exclusivity.
Yeah.
Okay.
But only if the project's like really successful. Like the
Right.
AYC's done really great with their
Yeah.
marketing and their branding. So they're like a brand now,
Yeah.
right? And so if you're part of that crew, then people think of you a certain way. Like, oh, either, you know, this person's made it, either this person's like a part of this crew and everyone wants to be a part of it because, you know, they went from like,
Yeah, but okay. So talking about that, like,
Sure.
do you think it's a very hype-driven market because of that stuff, right? Like, does it then become a very hype-driven market?
well, I mean, I think it's not so different from like collectibles in real life. Or, I mean, the very fact that the mechanisms behind it are like drops, right? And like reveal and like all these things build hype. And hype is also basically like interest in the project, right?
Yeah.
Interest is demand.
Yeah,
And so
that's true.
the more hype there is, the more demand there is, the
Yeah.
more people want to be a part of this club,
Yeah.
and there's already a fixed supply. Naturally,
As a normie, or as you said, like you
Yes.
said, crypto curious.
yes.
So I look at NFTs like, so I started looking at stuff through crypto. Like I didn't get into NFTs until much later on, which was like a couple of months back. And I was looking at NFTs, and until today, I still sort of think liking NFTs is like liking Elon Musk, right? You either stand or you fucking hate it. I don't know, right? Like,
Okay, I thought you were equating NFTs in itself to Elon Musk, and I
no,
was
but
like,
it's
whoa.
no, I'm equating the fandom of NFTs.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
It can
Like,
be really extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're either willing to die for the NFTs,
Right.
or the projects, the stuff that they own, or you know, they just really don't care. You just don't own
Yeah.
any, right?
Yeah.
But do you think, like, I mean, you agree with me in terms of that's what the market looks like, right?
I mean, it's a market, you know? I do think that a lot of criticisms against NFTs and
Yeah.
the ecosystem is valid. And I feel like a lot of these criticisms are necessary
tell.
at this point
Okay.
because we're in like nascency of the
Yeah.
ecosystem. So it's like, okay, this technology is here. There's like people coming on board with it. You know, in fact, NFTs, a lot of people say that NFTs help to onboard a lot more kind of mainstream audiences into crypto because it's like attached to a pretty picture.
Yeah.
And people can relate to that better than like a token.
Okay.
You know,
It's like-
maybe not everyone wants to go and read a white paper of
Yeah.
like a token of a project,
Yeah.
but can you understand like a pretty picture? Yeah. Can
it's
you
like-
relate to
It's
club?
like teaching people how to understand crypto with flashcards, basically. Apple.
Kind of.
Fire truck.
Or
Kinda.
if you're visually driven like me, like I would think of this as being like a little more interesting, right? And I think what was my point? I was
I don't
trying to
know.
talk about like NFTs, mainstream. Oh, I guess I was trying to say criticisms are necessary
Yes.
in
yeah.
my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, criticisms are necessary. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. Having, I don't know, I mean, considering how nascent this whole NFT thing is,
Yeah.
right? What kind of criticisms have you heard, like, so far that you think are really important bits for, I don't know, NFT project owners to understand, and I guess people in the industry to understand?
I mean, okay, I think there's like so much to unpack. I'm like, there's so much, you know? I mean, obviously I'm in this space because I think NFTs are like interesting,
Yeah.
but
And you really have to think
Yeah.
NFTs are interesting to be in this space.
I've seen how it's, you know, what it's done for artists, right? I've seen what it's done for like artists in different parts of, say, like Asia, where, you know, maybe they are in it because they're really looking to improve their livelihood.
Okay.
They're
yeah,
like trying
fair.
to, you know, buy a house for their family.
Okay.
They're trying to get out of like
Yeah.
a job that wasn't paying them well, these kinds of things.
Okay.
So I see that and I'm like, okay, it's done real things for people.
Yep.
But I also see like theoretically or historically why it's interesting. But at the same time, I think, you know, maybe from like a culture like standpoint, like one of the criticisms is that people in the NFT space, oftentimes there's this like narrative about like, you know, doing away with the middlemen, doing away with the old world, and just like forgetting everything that came before. And sometimes when we talk about NFTs, it's as though digital art didn't exist before like 2017 or something like that. Whereas digital art has been there for like decades. And, you know, lots of artists, lots of people around that system have been working to get the technology, to get like whatever, so many things to where we are today. And there's
a better
also
deviant art. Basically, right?
I mean, also like new media stuff, right? Or like post-internet art. There's a lot of cool stuff that's happened, but a lot of times I feel like because with NFTs, you can also draw in people who weren't previously interested in buying art or looking at art. But now with NFTs, maybe they're coming from a more like investment perspective, right? They're like, oh, okay, now I can like buy art and it's like an investment, which you can do before as well. But so people are coming to this conference for the first time and they're treating it almost as though like nothing else in the arts has ever happened before it. Which I think can be like super harmful for the discourse.
Do you feel like that's a lot more prevalent now, considering, you know, there are a lot more people coming into the space and a lot of people are still very new to the space, right?
Which is why there is this term, and I'm not saying like, oh yeah, I super agree with it, but just like there is this term called DYOR, right? Like do your own research. And I think things that people have told me when I first got into the space and first learned about buying crypto so I could, you know, participate even more on the art side is don't spend money that you can't afford to lose. Like, you know, take it as like your tuition fee. Like I didn't really understand what I was doing when I first bought, you know, my first coin or whatever. Like I was really only putting in money that I was like, okay, I'm
ready to lose
dabbling.
this.
I'm really just dabbling. I'm trying to understand the ecosystem, right? And I think if you're buying your first NFT, you're looking at projects, maybe it should be like, for myself, I would go with a similar mindset of like, I'm not gonna spend any money that, you know, would like hurt me to lose. For me, it's like, do I trust the artist? Yeah, like I like the artist, I like the art. I think, you know, they've been around this space. I trust the things that they're doing. Oftentimes, I also know them personally that I'm like, you're probably not gonna rug me dramatically. Yeah, it's not so dissimilar from like outside of crypto, right? You're looking at someone's like track record. Yeah, if they've proven themselves to be trustworthy, statistically speaking, you know, they may continue to be that kind of thing, but that's just what some people do.
Okay. What do you think are the pros and cons of NFTs?
Oh, well, we'll be here for the...
We'll be here for another hour, give or take, but yeah.
Okay.
I guess just off the top of your head, you know, what your opinion is on the pros and cons of NFTs.
Sure. I guess for digital art, so digital art has been bought, collected for years now. It's a whole thing. Museums buy digital art as well as private collectors, but it's been very difficult to build a sustainable secondary market for digital art, which can limit kind of the health of the ecosystem as a market, and just, you know, how much interest there is in digital art generally from at least like a market standpoint. And with NFTs, because of like, you know, provenance, because everything is kind of like recorded on the blockchain, and this ease of transferring, that there's definitely, you know, a bit more of a vibrant secondary market for digital art as compared to before. It's also closing this digital loop. Like, you have a digital work, you mint it, and then someone can purchase it, you know, on like a marketplace, have it received in their wallet with money like digital currency that they bought, and that's all done digitally. Whereas in the past, it's like if someone was selling, say, like a video work, and you're a collector, I'm the artist, I might have had to put that work on a USB, you know, and then have it in like a pretty little artist box, so you still have like a physical thing that you can change hands, and then I'll give you that file, and then maybe there's a paper certificate of
was that a
authenticity.
thing? Like people actually
Yeah.
saw videos like that?
Yeah.
Like, as art?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay, sorry. That's new to me. Like
Oh,
yeah, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It is cool,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
because you still get this like physical thing,
Yeah.
right? So there is this scarcity still.
Yeah.
And a lot of artists also, if it's like a video work, they might have like, the slate at the start where
Yeah.
it's like edition 1 of something, or
Oh, wow,
they'll
okay.
code the file in a particular way,
Yeah.
where there's still some kind of identification that this is a limited edition. But for a lot of people, it's still very uncomfortable to just buy a digital work because they're like, what if someone else has it? What if, it's being spread around and I don't know? Is it still scars?
Okay.
Whereas
fair.
with NFTs, you can track that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking about instead of getting a physical certificate saying that I currently own this, I'm the only one who owns this USB. I now have a digitally certified piece that states I only own this.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's awesome. That's a pro.
That's a pro.
Have we got the cons yet?
No, we haven't.
No, we have not. Almost missed out.
I guess, there are lots of pros and there are lots of cons. I think something that I worry about with NFTs and digital art is that so much of the conversation is about the market. And everything happens on
Sorry,
Twitter.
this entire conversation has so far been about the
No,
market.
it's okay.
I apologize for that.
It is, like we are talking about NFTs.
Yeah.
And so much happens on Twitter and Discord, and things move at rapid speed. And for a lot of artists who are coming into like the identity of being an artist for the first time through NFTs, and just how much of that focuses on what you're selling at, who's buying your work, who's not buying your work, are you selling out, or has your work been unsold for like a year, versus seeing say like someone else doing really well and like I think it can foster this air as though the market performance or like how much something is selling at, if it's selling, is indicative of the quality of your work.
Yeah,
which
build some sort of resentment and
not even that, just like those ties, right? Because whether the work is good or interesting or not doesn't have to be about whether it sells or not, and if it sells at what kind of price point.
Okay.
Like there are so many different
we're talking
things.
about marketing the projects, like I mean not even projects,
for
like,
like
it could be art as
an
well,
one-on-one
right?
artwork specifically.
It could also be about the marketing, right? Like
it could be about marketing. It could be about your online brand, like how great you are at Twitter and networking with collectors and all these different things. Like there are a whole host of reasons for like what makes a successful like NFT artist. And a lot of that is being able to put yourself out there, or whatever, which is not so different from like just being an artist in general. But I feel like because so much has been just tied specifically to the market. Yeah.
So I tried that myself as well, right? Because
Right.
it was like, oh, you know what? Just mint this on like OpenSeas and
Right.
sell one. I made a good buck for the month, right? And so it was that sort of realization for me as well, that a lot of people sort of see it the way I see it. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm a digital artist. I could, some obviously some people do a lot better photos than I do, or like illustrations that are a lot like crazier.
There's always
like,
better.
Yeah, it's like crazier in terms of the details, and they work really hard on that kind of stuff, and they put it out there, and it's like, oh yeah, but if they don't know how to market themselves, then what happens?
Yeah.
So you just sit there, and then we just sit at home and like, oh shit. Like,
but I mean, if you're like
not good enough?
trying to sell your work in, let's say it's photography, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to sell a print. How hard is it to sell a print? Like maybe some people it takes a week, some people it takes years. And for a lot of like artists in the traditional art side as well, a lot of people don't sell work. A lot of people might get exhibition opportunities. They might be doing stuff that's really interesting, but maybe they're just not selling. And it's not indicative of the quality or the merit of your work. But if the entire space is so focused on the market, it can make it difficult to separate these things.
Yeah, so like I think that's interesting to talk about as well, right? What's the deal with this like meme they put such a big word on it, derivative artwork.
If you look at like say Pepe the Frog and why that's one of the most like Genesis NFTs, like why that's so important, it's like it really comes out of like Reddit, 4chan, eBay,
Okay.
these things in like
Yeah.
2014, 2015. And then in 2016 on Counterparty. But these are like the first incidences within this kind of group of people, right? Not to say first incidences ever, but just at least for this group of people that are like in the blockchain crypto world as well, where they were trading digital visual assets. And it's an extension of things we're familiar with, like collectibles, like Pokemon cards, trading cards. But there was already this understanding of digital scarcity. If you look back to like 2014, like 4chan, Pepe the Frog, like rare Pepe threads, where people would try to limit the number of rare Pepes being uploaded on the forum at a given time because they didn't want to flood the market. Which is like really interesting because then there's this instance in which someone had downloaded and hoarded like 1,200, I think, rare Pepe drawings, uploaded it at once, and everyone was so upset because they were like, oh, you're flooding the market. And so there was already this understanding, right?
Wait, so
of
how
like,
did that was, but that is coming from that was a Web 2 time, right?
yeah.
Right?
This
So,
is like online forums.
How did they create scarcity in terms of, like,
I
what
guess
were the
just-
drawings of Pepe?
Yeah, so original digital drawings of Pepe, right? Which then people also sold on eBay. So you
Okay.
could buy these drawings.
But
And
if
then,
you upload it on the forum, wouldn't I be able to save the picture?
yeah, you would. That's why someone could flood the market.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's like, it was kind of like an in-group thing too, right? Like,
Okay.
oh, like we are part of that culture.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't want there to be like too many of these
Yeah.
out there because it would just become mainstream.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah.
So
but
they sort of respect the boundaries of what it means to own one.
not even,
Or what
I
it means
mean,
to
kind of
right-click
to own
save
one,
one,
right?
to-
But just
yeah.
you protect the culture of like the group you're in.
Okay.
Kind of behavior.
Okay.
Yeah, which is like really interesting because then you take that and then you extend that to like the current NFT market,
Yeah.
and a lot of things start making sense.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does. Oh wow. Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking some time to digest that.
No, I
that
know.
really does make sense now because I never
Yeah.
knew shit like that even existed. Right? Like
Yeah.
I've been on Reddit. Like I've been on Reddit before, but I've never really like people spend a lot of time on that stuff.
and
right?
there's so many different corners.
And I guess that's also where sort of the culture of Discord comes in as well, right? Oh, this truck. Sorry, I'm just waiting for the garbage truck to pass by. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but yeah, sorry. But yeah, I mean, like, it's also interesting that you brought that up because then you can also sort of see where this whole Discord thing, the culture of Discord sort of comes from, right? The amount of time, effort, and energy people spend on Discord is akin to the kind of stuff that they used to do on 4chan and Reddit, and
Yeah.
I have friends who still
I mean,
do it.
gaming
but-
communities or even like digital artist communities have been utilizing Discord like prior to say like 2021. Like,
Okay.
I didn't know about it,
Yeah.
or I only knew a very specific niche like art groups using Discord to try and like connect people or
Okay.
do experiments. But I didn't realize there are actually so many different online and digital communities
Yeah.
that were already on Discord and were like completely fluent with like building collectivism, just on Discord.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah.
Now we've come to the last segment of our show, of the Blockcast.
Okay.
It is time for you to plug yourself.
Okay.
Or plug NFT Asia, or, Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. What do I say? Well,
Okay.
NFT Asia is
you want
really
me to
cool.
ask you questions?
Sure, let's do
okay.
that.
Let's do that. Let's make it easier. What does NFT Asia hope to achieve in the long run?
Wow, it's great that you asked that.
Sorry,
Because
this is the Streets Time is interview. Sorry.
very recently came to articulate NFT Asia's goals in this particular logic, and I'm really excited about it because there's and this is something that I've just been thinking about, so I don't know, whatever. Gonna stop prefacing myself and just say it.
Okay.
NFT Asia was founded in 2021 March.
Okay.
So we've been building since. Bear market, bull market, doesn't matter. We're just building.
Yeah.
And it's an artist-centric community. It's non-profit, and it's going to stay that way. So everything that we've been doing is really it's a team of artists, right? 4 artists.
Yeah. Out of the kindness of your own hearts.
Oh, I mean,
Pretty much.
we're all having fun. We're all,
Yeah.
you know, it's given us a lot of different opportunities as well. So,
Okay.
but I think moving forward, we're gonna continue doing 3 different things, but ramping things up kind of in different ways. The first is, which is how we kind of started, the very base layer of like supporting artists internally. So it's really like creating spaces where artists can support each other by like doing workshops. Like, you know, we noticed that a lot of artists aren't necessarily familiar or fluent in writing their own bios or artwork descriptions, especially if like you're a Thai artist, you're an Indonesian artist, English isn't your first language. And so even just working together, reading each other's bios or like having a writing workshop of sorts can really help. Or we host the sessions called pitch practices because we realized, strangely enough, in the NFT space, especially when Clubhouse was such a big thing or on Twitter Spaces, artists would have to go on and like pitch about themselves for like 3-5 minute like elevator pitch, which is like so unusual for artists. But we started noticing that and the fact that a lot of people were really shy. And so we host these spaces kind of regularly around like monthly. We're hoping to do it monthly from now on. Where
Is it all online?
it's all on Discord, yeah.
Okay, it's all on
so
Discord,
these
okay.
things in the first layer are mostly all online, Discord,
Yeah.
Twitter, just providing space for people to get together, to learn together in like a safer space because you kind of know the people you're, you know, talking to.
Yeah.
Or you're also asking questions and you're kind of, it's almost like crowdsourcing an answer on Discord, right? You put something out there, different people can respond, but in this community. Then the second layer, it's really outreach and amplification. So in March, we went to Art to Buy. Next month, we're going to NFT NYC. We're doing a pop-up exhibition with Super Chief Gallery.
Okay.
In July, we're doing something. I can't say it.
Okay.
End of the year, we're doing something else, you know.
Can't say anything. Okay.
But all these efforts are really because, you know, with a collective, you have a level of visibility and influence that as an individual is harder to gain.
Okay.
So what we want to do is basically utilize this power of the collective
Yeah.
and bring more individuals, bring more artists to like different places, different opportunities.
Yeah.
And, you know, just amplify the work they're already doing.
Okay, so like speaking of that, like you go into NFT NYC and you can say you have a pop-up.
Yes, we
A
have an
pop-up?
exhibition.
You have an
Yeah.
exhibition. Okay, and like how do you choose who to exhibit? Right?
That's
Because
a
NFT
really great
Asia doesn't
question,
do
yeah.
their own. You guys don't have your own NFT project, right?
No, we don't.
You're a community that helps people with their projects, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
And actually not even their projects because we don't really exhibit collectibles.
Okay.
We actually focus on one-on-ones in
Okay.
the exhibitions we do. We ran an open call last week. So over like 4 or 5 days, we got over 800 submissions.
okay.
And I'm currently in the
Were they
process of narrowing it down.
like collections?
No, they were all one-on-ones.
Single, one-on-ones,
they were
okay,
all
okay.
like individual, like artists,
Yeah.
artworks. Yeah, because the gallery space is, you know, they have X number of screens, X number
Yeah.
of projectors, so we're kind of limited by that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
To how many?
to like
you know how many like you know
Yeah.
how many you limiting yourselves to from 800? Like what is the number that you need to get to?
yeah. I'm trying to see how far I can push it.
Okay.
There are different
Still in
ways,
the phases
right?
negotiation with the event organizer.
Yes. I mean, we're,
Okay,
we're just
yeah.
trying to see like what is, you know, a comfortable, like what is a conducive exhibition environment we can put up, because sometimes when you go to something and it's just like way too much, it's also not helpful for the artist.
Yeah, agreed.
So what is actually a good balance? We're trying to finalize that, but yeah.
Okay.
It depends on a
interesting.
lot of different things.
Okay, so maybe my last question would be like I also want to know, in NFT Asia you talk about like, you know, you have people who are from Thailand, people who are from Indonesia, the Philippines, I'm guessing as well. Like you know how do you communicate with everyone? Like you know, Southeast Asia, as much as it is one region, it is also very fragmented in terms of culture, right?
Yes.
So
Language
yeah, language
Yeah.
mainly.
and other things.
And other things, yeah. But yeah, so like, what's the conversations like?
Yeah, so we are super aware of that because most of us, like on the team, like myself, Ernest, Jake, sorry, not Jake. Jake's not on the team. I thought of Ernest, I thought of Jake.
It's okay.
Me, Ernest, John.
I'll try to edit that out.
We are mostly speaking English, right? And our common denominator is English. But especially last year around like June, a lot of Thai artists came into the Discord, and a lot of them were actually not super like fluent or not super comfortable. Like we really wanted to engage with each other, but I think it can be really intimidating, right? So there was someone who kind of stepped up and took the role of a translator.
Oh wow, okay.
For like in instances in which there was like a potential like, oh, I don't understand like what this is about. And then she or he would step it up. But we also then created these location channels that are really language focused. So like there's one for Thailand, there's one for Indonesia, there's one for India.
So they have sort of sub groups that they could join that was more
either language or kind of location focused, because it's also like if you have a question about how do I get into something in Singapore, looking at Singapore's regulation, then that's a question you want to direct to other people who understand. And we just felt like, even if we really want to help you, we don't know where to go to say like buy your first crypto in Malaysia, even we don't know. So someone in Malaysia might be better first to help you out.
How many members you guys have now?
So on Discord we have a little over 4,000. On Twitter we have about like 15.5k kind of followers. So it's hard to quantify our members because we're an open and loose kind of community. You don't need a membership form. You don't need to sign up.
You just need to verify.
Yeah, you kind of just need to verify yourself, or anyone can take part in, say, like our open calls or our Twitter spaces. You don't really need to even be on Discord. You could just be on Twitter. But of course, Discord is where a lot of things happen. So, yeah.
Okay. So, to plug NFT Asia, follow them on Twitter if you're not already following them. It's at NFT Asia.
Official.
No, thank God I asked. At NFT Asia official, and the Discord channel, the link in the Discord to the Discord channel is probably on Twitter.
Discord.gg/NFT Asia, but yes, it is on.
It's
Twitter.
on Twitter, right? Yeah, Discord. Anyway, it's on Twitter. Go look it up. But thank you so much for coming by, even though it's raining and traffic's really crap today. But thank you so much, Clara, for coming by. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.